Welcome to Solywise Business Podcast, the podcast where we dive into essential business strategies that will help you with growth and success. I am your host, Unonjabulo. On today's episode, we'll be discussing the Quality Council for Trades and Occupations, also known as QCTO. Joining us is an expert in skills training, business compliance, and skills development, Mr. Awam. Welcome, Mr. Awam.
Thank you for having me.
Okay, let's start with explaining what is Quality Council for Trades and Occupations and its roles in skills development.
Okay, for starters, QCTO is a Quality Council for Trade and Occupation, which was established in 2010 under the Skills Development Act. And its primary role is to ensure effective quality assurance of skills occupational qualifications, or that is the occupational qualification sub-framework, taking over from SETAs their mandatory role, which was as accreditation, assessment, certification, and ensuring that proper quality education is implemented within South Africa.
Okay, let's discuss the differences between legacy qualifications and occupational qualifications.
So the originally SETA qualifications, which are referred to as legacy qualification, these were qualifications that were designed pre-2009, and they were designed in a manner that they speak to unit standards, outcomes. Whereas occupational qualifications, when QCTO came in, they introduced the occupational qualifications, which are modular based, but they speak mostly to the industry and practical outcomes. So the distinct between the two, that legacy qualifications, one would train them and exit learners, or one would train unit standards alone, or what we refer to as skills programs, and also train full qualification. But with the occupational programs, you only train on the entire qualification, so you cannot break it down into modular form to exit learners on short programs.
Okay. So what are the benefits of occupational programs?
With the introduction of QCTO, of course, having seen that the legacy programs were not speaking directly to the industry requirements, so the entire skills development was redesigned to ensure that the training that is provided in the sectors, it addresses the skills need, it addresses the skills deficit and the interest of the industries at heart. So occupational qualifications have been designed to address specifically that they are aligned to the industry, so they speak to the industry. That's why the emphasis is put on practical and workplace, so that at the end of the training, the learner is best suited to get the job done in the workplace. But most importantly is that QCTO occupational qualifications in their design, they have been designed into modular forms, which is theoretical modules, practical modules, and workplace modules, meaning that now the learner would be getting a better skill at the end of the training, ensuring that there is enhanced skills, there is enhanced knowledge, and also the knowledge provided which is aligned to the industry.
Okay. Yeah. So what are the impacts does QCTO have on training providers?
Of course, every particular change comes into the economy. It has positive and negative impact. And the training providers, being that they are the major stakeholders in education, they are also affected somehow, because compliance. Now, even if you were originally accredited with your legacy programs, now training providers are going to be forced to re-accredit for them to remain compliant, legit, and in providing skills and training. Two, the design of occupational qualifications requires a lot of resources, in a way that with legacy programs, training providers were not necessarily forced to have workplaces, were not necessarily forced to have workshops and things like that. And of course, all of this requires funds, this requires money, whereby now training providers are forced to have workshops where learners will be doing their practical modules. At the end of the day, they are also supposed to go into the industry to force collaboration with these particular employers, where learners will be doing their workplace modules. Secondly, the training providers a benefit in this way, that they are going to be dealing with only one quality assurance partner. Previously, with 21 seaters, you are created with 10 seaters. You would be forced to learning all the different quality assurance processes within the different seaters. But now, QCTO being the mother quality assurance body within the occupational qualifications framework, that means that now the training provider is only supposed to focus on one QAP. That creates a lot of time on their tables to focus and redesign their implementation, ensure that quality implementation is quality training is implemented. And lastly, we can also say forced collaboration between the training providers and the employers, that employers are going to be more involved into the training, which was never there before. Because right now, when you place learners into the workplace, at least companies are going to have a say in what learners learn, and they are going to have a close monitoring on what learners are being trained, especially on the workplace modules.
Okay. Yeah. So what are the impacts of QCTO on employers?
Employers directly, the QCTO is not going to deal directly with employers because the alignment of seaters is still going to be there to ensure that employers still pay to their primary seaters. But because employers also have an element of workplace skills that they implement in their companies, that means that employers also need to understand the changes within skills development, so that they do not train on programs that have been exited. They don't train on programs that are not aligned to the occupational qualifications. So one, that is a responsibility of the employers to do due diligence to the training providers that they choose to train with, and ensuring that these training providers have legitimate accreditation. But also two, because of the element of workplace modules, you are going to find that now employers are also going to spend time, they are also going to be involved in the actual training, because for learners to be exited, they must have or they must undergo at least a year or 18 months of workplace training. And also, the other element is that there is going to be higher quality of graduates at the end of the day, because a learner would now spend a year at the training center and also spend a year in the workplace, meaning that the employers would get enough time to retrain this learner before they can employ them. And if there is a chance of employment, definitely they will look at the learner that they have already employed, because the learners have spent a year with them in the particular companies. Yes.
Okay, so the last question. What are legacy program extensions?
Yeah, all the legacy qualifications originally they were supposed to expire on 30th June 2024. But I think because of the delays in the development of the new occupational qualifications, then QCTO and SAQA advised the Department of Higher Education to re-extend the registration date and the exit date to 2025 and 2026, and also the exit date from 2028 to 2029. But then again, employers and training providers need to understand that it's not a blanket extension. There are specific programs that were extended in the specific seaters. So in order to ensure that learners are registered on legitimate programs or programs that are still valid, employers and training providers need to make their research. They need to approach their seaters to ensure that only those particular programs that have been extended are the ones that they can enroll learners on. But most importantly, also one thing not to forget is that once the learners get enrolled in the legacy programs, it's a responsibility of the training providers and the employers to ensure that these learners are exited within 3 years. That is from 2024 to 2027, or from 2025 to 2028, and 2026 to 2029.
Okay, that is very insightful. Do you have any last words for our viewers at home?
Look, it is. I know that the entire skills development changes or the occupational qualification introduction has brought a lot of changes within the skills development, but it depends on how we all get involved in ensuring that this is being implemented effectively. because truly it has been brought for the benefit of the training that we are offering. Two, the success of of the implementation of occupational qualifications, it is always going to be based on how much we involve ourselves in, on how much we understand the processes, and how much we are willing to implement the changes. And so by doing that, we shall be addressing the skills deficit, we shall be addressing the gap in the industry, whereby companies and learners do not whereby trained youth don't get jobs, specifically because the training is not aligned to the requirements of the industry.
No, thank you for sharing your insights. This segment has been very informative, and I hope that our viewers at home have learned a lot about what QCTO is and the benefits. That is all for today's episode of Solely Wise Business Podcast. Make sure that you hit that like, share, and subscribe button.